Hi, team. Welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Coming up, Knights of the Fallen Empire class changes for Inquisitors and Consulars. But first, SWTOR news, TwitchCon news, and the fun stuff going on in our guild, Alea Iacta Est. Our astromech today is EPC 110, who will ride this escape pod to get this show out to you. What's that, buddy? What happens if the escape pod gets shot down? Well, heal to full and make them pay, of course. With me, as always, is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going? And how's your excitement level for KotFE lately?
I see that you had a little Sork Sage humor in there.
I haven't heard them say that lately in any of the live streams yet. I didn't see it in the patch notes for Inquisitors and Consulars, which we'll talk about today. So that's good.
So we're going to talk about the TwitchCon streaming and the stuff, just TwitchCon in general when we get to the news. But, you know, when the KotFE stuff first started, I was excited because I was ready for, something new. And then the more they talked about it, the more I felt sort of started to go feeling a little bit more about it. Seemed like it was very focused on the new player, and then it was, But lately, I've been starting to get more and more looking forward to it more and more. And then after watching the little bit that they showed at TwitchCon, I watched a couple streamers playing, and I don't know, it just looks really cool. The sacrifice trailer got me interested again for sure, and I thought that was like the peak of how interesting it was going to get. But just a little bit that I watched of the streaming, it seemed like the story is going to be really interesting. So I'm intrigued, and I'm looking forward to playing it now. I went through a period where I was thinking, like, I don't want to play a bunch of story stuff right now. I just want to do ops. They're not letting me do my ops. I have to do a bunch of story stuff. Now I'm looking forward to the story stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
I first had a reaction to their sort of the sort of solo-ifying of the story part of the game. And, not so much anymore, because it's sort of always been like that, but we sort of pretended that it wasn't.
Right.
But we still wanted, I mean, even if you were hanging out in voice chat while you were doing stuff, you'd be muting voice chat so you could listen to conversations and stuff in the game. So, I mean, leveling as a solo activity, I'm okay with that. In fact, that's normally how I do it. I like group activity, but it's separate from leveling, so I'm okay with that. I'm looking forward to it now.
Makes sense.
How about you, Max? Where's the arrow on your excitement dial?
Yes, they had my attention with expansion, and yeah, now with these streams, they have my interest as well. I'm finishing up my stuff to get ready. I finished up my Makeb achievements. I got my Consular to 60 and done with Ziost. I'm definitely ready for it. I'm ready for it to get here. I do really like what I'm seeing in terms of the streams. I'm not afraid of spoilers, so I'm watching everything that I see in the streams. And it looks really cool. I'm happy to have story to play through. I still think there's a challenge in when the story is done. Is there going to still be all of those MMO bits that make it fun outside of the story? And even if there's not, I'll still be interested to play the story month after month as they release it serially, but it'll be a different experience than it was in the past. So we'll see.
I guess one thing that crossed my mind too about that is, like, if we get a bunch of new players as a result of this, and to them, they go through the leveling process and they get to level, and throughout the leveling process there's all these flashpoints available to them that they can do either solo, or they can do a tactical, or they can do group finder and get a regular group, and then they get to end game and there's like 10 operations ready for them, and I'm guessing there's going to be a way for them to gear up. It might be really fun to have a whole bunch of new people to take through this content, and I don't know.
That's true.
It might be good.
I do get a kick out of that continuing on our Tuesday night mandatory fun nights. Anytime we have new people, it is fun to walk them through.
That's really what I was thinking. And maybe it'll be like that all over the server as people pug and look for guilds and everything.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see what else was happening in the news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So where did we see this? We saw this in some of the new chapter 1 playthrough in the TwitchCon streams this week. What was your? I'll let you start, Simo. What was your overall impression
Okay.
of the TwitchCon
Well,
streams?
I was actually impressed with how good it looked. I mean, part of it was that I was watching it on my Kindle, which is a smaller screen, so it gets that sort of brighter, crisper look that a smaller version gets. But I really liked the look of it. I was kind of hopeful by how easy it was for someone who had not played the game at all to pick up what to do and I mean these are streamers, they've played every other kind of game too, so I mean it's not a huge learning curve, but um, I it's actually TwitchCon watching the streams is knocked me up a bunch. I mean a level of excitement, like I was saying.
It
It's
knocked you
made
up.
me look forward to it
I
more.
got it. I heard what you said.
And I'm like you.
Phrasing.
I'm not scared of spoilers, but in my case, it's because I have Swiss cheese for brains. I'm going to forget anyway.
Yeah, my overall impression was it was interesting. It was interesting to see. But it was only merely interesting. It was interesting to see some of the chapter 1 stuff. It definitely was a little spoilery what we were seeing out of the chapter 1 gameplay. It was interesting to see newbies play it, but only mildly interesting. I would say if you were looking for something for us, the people that are watching a podcast like this,
Yeah.
there was very little out of what happened at TwitchCon. It served a
Yes.
different purpose,
It's
and I think it did well in what they were trying to achieve, which was a sort of a marketing, a launch thing, what you would do if you were launching a new game, which I think they're sort of treating it that way. But
I think that's why they weren't yakking it up a lot to us, because there was
yeah,
really nothing for us, there.
yeah, I
All
wasn't
stuff we
as
already
interested
knew.
in seeing the character creation screens and someone paging through the 4 body types. Oh, look at these body types. Yeah. And then and then one of the streams where whoever it was picked a juggernaut and was like hitting smash from 30 meters away and wondering why nothing was happening. And I think people were wondering if they even had sprint turned on or not. But a lot of it is cutscenes, is what we're seeing in those streams too. So if you are interested in cutscenes, which are spoilery, again, I don't even want to talk about what happened in some of them, but that chapter 1 does have some significant things which make it interesting to think of what that story is going to be like and what that playthrough is going to be like.
And then
I'm ready for
BioWare
it.
had their 15 minutes on the stage, so the official sort of BioWare part of it was really sort of an introduction to, what is Star Wars: The Old Republic? How do you play it? What kind of person would like it, kind of thing. It wasn't designed as a way to disseminate information really about
Right.
the X Pack for people who already played the game. It was just, a high level. This is what the game is. Here's why you would love it. Come and play it, kind of thing.
So when will they tell us more about what's actually in Knights of the Fallen Empire?
So good that you bring that up, because on September 30th, nice segue, there's going to be a dev live stream, and they're going to talk about some of the gameplay changes that are coming up in Game Update 4.0, which is KotFE. And they say they're going to talk about user interface updates starting at level 60, the experience of starting at level 60. Then they say something core world and crafting changes. Like we knew there's crafting changes. I do not know what they mean by core world changes, so I'm kind of intrigued by that.
No.
They're going to have some live gameplay, and then they say they're going to answer a bunch of questions, I assume from Twitch chat, but I mean, who knows? But they are allowing 2 hours for this live stream, so that is a lot of time, and that's a long list of stuff. So I think there might be a good bit of info in this live stream, so I'm looking forward to it.
So I do think that there are going to be some significant user interface updates that will be interesting to take a look at. I also don't know what core world changes means. And question answering, it could be live questions from players. It could be them just making up questions for each other, like
Yes, it could be. I mean,
how
it's
much
not like
will
they
the
haven't done it
game
before.
cost? Glad you asked. it will be free to subscribers, but you must subscribe. That's been the level of questions and answers that we've seen so far. I wouldn't expect too much more than that. Live gameplay? Maybe they'll show us the very ending.
Hard.
And, you know, Rosebud
the
is the name of his sled.
It's very, in all fairness, it's very hard to answer questions from the Twitch stream because it's the chat, the Twitch stream, the live stream chat on Twitch is usually filled with people.
Yeah. True.
Spamming stuff.
Right. Yes. You will get people that have their pet question like, when will pets get machine guns? And then they'll type it like it's timed, so you can only type like once every 30 seconds. And then once every 30 seconds in all caps, Musco, when will pets get machine guns? Musco, when will pets...
refuse to answer.
You're not going to get an answer to that question because it's not... I don't know what you're talking about. Let's see what else. They saw a note in the dev tracker that they are getting rid of the customer support forum in favor of an extension of the Electronic Arts answers page as part of the support mechanics of electronicarts.com. There will be a link for SWTOR specific support. They claim this will give them better moderation and oversight of the way that players helping other players works. They hope it'll increase the quality of customer support forum type activities that are going on. It's probably also going to give them an opportunity to take advantage of some of the infrastructure that's in place, is what I would expect, without them having to invest in beefing up additional resources to be handling their own mini forum. We'll see.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to check out EA's support mechanism, but if it has like a knowledge-based type of thing where you can look up like the most asked questions and stuff like that, I can see where it might be helpful.
I think it could be. The current customer support forums are mildly useful at best.
Yeah. Also, we heard this week that they are changing the name of commendations. So instead of basic commendations, they're going to be called common data crystals. Elite commendations will be called glowing data crystals, and ultimate commendations will now be called radiant data crystals. And then all other commendations names, they're not getting a name change. So my first and second and third thought on this is I'm never going to be able to keep glowing and radiant data crystals clear in my mind. However, I just realized that I can put them in alphabetical order. Glowing data crystals are the lower one, radiant data crystals are the higher one. But the second thing is they're not doing any kind of conversion, they said. So there isn't going to be, your ultimate comms are not going to be downgraded to elite comms. So there's been a lot of speculation about what that means. Like maybe, I know some people said maybe they realize that ultimate gear is crap anyway, so they don't care if you have your comms for it already, for a couple pieces of it. I guess my feeling is that maybe maybe this is just a new system they're putting in, and instead of downgrading comms over time, they're just going to add new comms. So they'll be like,
yeah,
effervescent data crystals.
Yes, which will mess up your alphabetical order. But yes.
I know that will mess with my mind.
That's what my expectation is they will just add tiers of data crystals, and they don't have to go to like super ultimate and super mega ultimate and
right. I think there will be a new tier. I mean, and I think there's going to be a new tier of augments and augment kits too. I mean, I'm just making that up. I haven't seen anything. I haven't looked at the data mining stuff for several weeks now, so I'm just speculating. But
actually, yeah, I don't know. I think there will be a new tier eventually. I don't know if there will be a new tier at launch, and I think Radiant Data Crystals may be able to buy the level 65 ops gear, the ultimate gear, the new ultimate gear, right out of the gate.
So we're gonna have to fight level 65 bosses with our gear that we have now, basically.
No, you'll be able to use basic commendations to get level 65 ops gear. you know, like the 186 stuff. Your common data crystals, which would be all your basic comms, will get you the 204 or whatever the number is going to be. Elite will get you the 208, and the Radiance will get you the 212. That's what I'm expecting.
So this time around, they just don't care that we were coming into the XPAC with a full boat of comms already.
Right. That's what I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And it may only be one more tier. So Common may end up buying you 192, Glowing may end up buying you 198, and Radiant may end up buying you 204.
Yeah. I guess we will find out.
We will find out. In AIE Guild news, ops teams are continuing to chug along, but I think we're getting very close to the time at which, I think especially in the month of October, there's going to be a couple weeks here where some of the op teams are going to go on hiatus and take a break for a couple weeks as people wind down into the expansion. And then as the expansion starts up, people will be spending time leveling their characters. That's usually a couple weeks at least of downtime. I'm not exactly sure. You should check the forums for the individual ops teams. They may still be doing some things on the side, and after the expansion comes out, I think there might be some Flashpoint nights that are planned and things like that. Our Lords of Light ops.
Well, I mean,
yep.
I mean, they can do ops because the ops will be there's going to be bolster and
There
there's
will.
going to be, yeah.
But people will be, I think, at least for the first week, the early access and then later access, people are going to be hardcore.
Otherwise occupied.
Playing some story.
Yeah.
The Lords of Light, our ops team, we had fun in Nightmare, Scum, and Villainy this week, and we had fun in Eternity Vault. I don't know why. We went off and did 8-man Nightmare Eternity Vault because somebody needed an achievement, or did we do 16-man with 8 people? Regardless.
Or what? I don't know, but it was because somebody needed an achievement.
Yeah.
And that's what that's a good reason right now to do Nightmare EV or KP, is if somebody needs it.
But they did not get that achievement, did they?
No, because, we ran into that SOA problem, which was that part of Garge had this problem too, but this was with some items that you need not appearing. And really, I hope that provided a lot of performance increases for people since they didn't have to render the floor and SOA.
So this must have been an effect of some of those performance updates. Some of the platforms in SOA were not showing up for anyone, and it was consistent. No one could see them, but only some of them. And then the stones in between the islands for the Garge fight weren't showing up for us. I actually did a YouTube cut of a couple minutes out of us trying to hop down on these invisible platforms and doing a pretty good job until you have to get to that one where you have to jump off the corner. And then because the platform's curved and you not remembering exactly how far, nobody made it. And we all jumped to our deaths. But
I did read after the fact, somebody said that if you pan your camera straight up and then down again, that they'll reappear. So I don't know if that's true or not. But at the very least, if you look up, you can at least see the ones that are mid. I don't know if that's true, because I remember I was lying dead on the bottom floor and I looked up and I saw a bunch of people running around on an invisible platform. So
we tried a lot of things because we did it a couple times. We played with our graphic settings and a bunch of stuff. So hopefully they'll fix it. But on New Overlords on YouTube, you can see us walking in the air and on invisible platforms. By the end of it, I sort of wanted them to keep it as a feature, like an Ultra Nightmare achievement mode.
Yeah.
Because they're still there. So if you're real careful and you get used to it, you could be walking on the invisible platforms and you can make it.
That's right.
It would be a good challenge.
That's right. I mean, we could have done it with a few more tries. It's just we ran out of time and willingness.
And interest. Mostly time.
Time and inclination. Yeah.
What else?
Oh, that's right. Granite Paladin just says in chat, there's also a thing in Scum and Villainy where graphically they filled the holes in the bridge, but the holes are actually still there.
Really?
which is evil. Yeah. Yeah, I read about that.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So Tuesday night we'll have our normal mandatory fun night. Not sure what we're gonna do, but we'll cook up something. Probably try to get some nightmare runs in for people who need achievements, and
Yep.
yeah, so be there or be square.
Yeah, I think we're done for now with Eternity Vault in Kraga's Palace. We've run it multiple times
Yeah,
on multiple
I think
sides.
we might be. Yeah.
I think we'll go either back to Explosive Conflict or maybe go chase down some Datacrons or world bosses, or we'll figure something fun. And finally, want to say thank you and give a shout out to the chat room. We got a bunch of people in there. I see a bunch of usual suspects and a couple new people. Hey everyone. I do really appreciate people hopping in the chat room on our podcast night and on our stream nights where we're streaming the various content that we're trying to go through. We had a whole bunch of people watching us wipe a couple weeks ago on Brontes,
Yeah.
which maybe they just couldn't tear their eyes away. So thanks. And we will chat with everyone after the podcast more as well. But now I think we can talk about Inquisitors and Consulars in KotFE.
Gamlin ist Franjan, Kupainanan.
Thank you, Kem. That is right. I'm so excited in KotFE. I will have Kem out all the time. Kem is my favorite
Yeah.
consular, my favorite Inquisitor companion. He is quite cool. Let me see. I've got this.
I have to say, I do
cool
kind of
skin on
miss
him, too.
Kaizen Fess on my Sage. He was my first companion, and I like him a lot, and I miss him.
I've got a custom armor set on him on one of my other Inquisitors, but I do like the color scheme that I've got him on this character. So what are we talking about this week? We did get the notes on what the class changes are for both the Inquisitor advanced classes and the Consular advanced classes. So that's Assassin or Sorc, which is the two Inquisitor classes, and Shadow or Sage. And we'll treat them as Assassin and Shadow, which are the mirror classes, and Sorc Sage. I play DPS Sorc in PvP. I've tanked with an Assassin, so we'll be able to talk about it from that perspective. And Seema, I know you've done all of those things with those as well. Tanking, DPS, and healing. So we got quite a bit of an update that matches, I wouldn't say quite a bit. We got an update, and it matches what we've seen for all the other classes. So this is the fourth in their series of these class updates. And what we get is one major ability for each of the advanced class types, and a couple passive abilities, and a couple utilities that are sort of tuned up. Nothing all that exciting beyond that. So it's pretty concise sets of class updates in all of the different classes across what's coming in Knights of the Fallen Empire. And again, all of it follows that theme that we saw in the other classes where they're very mobility focused. That seems to be the key of what they're trying to achieve with these. So why don't you run us through what the fancy new thing is that Assassins and Shadows get, which is the coolest thing I think that we have to talk about tonight.
Well, the first thing is I just want to say that they're taking Phase Walk, which was an ability that Assassins and Shadows had, and they're giving it to the base level. So all Inquisitors and all Consulars are getting Phase Walk. And basically, if you don't know what that is, which you might not, it's another instant sort of teleport type ability. But basically, when you cast it, it casts like an anchor at your feet. And then later on, if you cast it again, it'll return you to that anchor instantly, like a teleport. And it can go. It doesn't obey line of sight. It can go through. Well, I don't know. I think it can go through. I tried it through a closed door in my stronghold, but those doors. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure it'll go. It doesn't obey line of sight at all.
Nope. It's cool.
So it's a pretty cool instant movement thingy. I think as we get more used to it, and by we I mean sorcerers and sages, will find more and more uses for it. It does have an additional feature to it that we're used to, which is it puts a puddle on the ground, and if as a healer you stand in it, it increases your healing done by 5%. But this is actually an ability that comes in the heroic tier of the Assassin Shadows, so it seems unlikely that Sorks and Sages will get this part of it. Because I mean, that was the first thing I thought of. Was like, wow, can I boost my healing 5% by making my own little puddle? But I don't think that's going to happen.
Got it. So that's interesting.
Then the new active ability. Oh,
I just thought
the
there's
new
going to be
active
many
ability-
of them. There's going to be a whole bunch of these puddles all around now. Like in our group with 3.
Yeah, that's true. And there'll be like Sorks and Sages flying through the air all the time.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you don't fly through the air. You just
Teleporting
kind of
around.
disappear in one spot and appear in the other.
Yep.
So there isn't that. But at least you're not going backwards.
Right. 20 yards, 20 feet, or meters, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, and 60 meters is a long distance.
Yeah.
I mean, I put one down because I have a shadow, and I was messing around with it earlier when I read this, and I put one down in my stronghold, and then I jumped off the side, and I was able to teleport back to the. Well, you have to do it before you die, but teleport back to my stronghold from space.
That's tricky.
So that's
Huh.
one thing that's going to increase some mobility, at least for Sorks and Sages, because Assassins and Shadows already had that. But then Assassins and Shadows are getting a new ability, which is called Phantom Stride or Shadow Stride. It has a 30-meter range, and it's not on the GCD, and it has a 30-second cooldown, which is really kind of quick for something like this. But basically, it teleports you to your enemy target, and it increases your movement speed by 75% for 3 seconds, and you can do it in stealth. Like lots of these things, you can't use it against targets in cover. And for some reason, it requires a double-bladed lightsaber or electro staff. So like if you leave home without yours, then you won't be able to use this ability.
Yeah. This is, I think, one of the best versions of any of the movement abilities that any of the classes got. So Power Techs and Vanguards got Leap in, that the tanks used to only have it, and then they got Leap, and then Marauders and get the Blade Dance, whatever, Blade Blast, Mad Dash. That's one of the versions. Mad Dash, where they dash forward in a line, and they do damage along that line.
Yeah.
This, though, to be able to target a particular target, both in PvE and in PvP, being able to target a particular target and to teleport directly to that target is very useful. And I think a much better version of this type of ability than anyone else got to this point. Although, I guess the Leap is relatively equivalent, but that instant teleport, pretty cool, and being able to do it while stealthed.
Yeah, I mean, it is an advantage, especially in PvP, because like the Leap, it may take the same amount of time, but visually the Leap gives you a cue that's happening. Like in the instant teleport, someone just shows up behind you. Unless it's not going to be this way for very experienced PvPers, but there could be a moment where they go like, "Hey, who's back there?"
Yeah.
Oh, it's you.
Oh, hello.
Where'd you come from?
I didn't see you there.
Right.
So that's the awesome ability for Shadows and Assassins. Sorks and Sages get the Phase Walk. So it's nothing new, but it's interesting and a fun ability for them to get. So that's the big thing. I did think of something while you were talking about Phase Walk. And
let's hear it.
So here's what you're going to do. I know. You're going to drop your puddle. You're going to jump up high things. You're going to extricate someone. And then you're going to phase walk back to your little puddle.
Yeah.
Leaving someone else flying off a cliff. The
other thing I thought about doing was, because it lasts for a minute, right?
Yep.
I thought about you put it down right before. This is like in the situation of a wipe, right? You put it down right before you type /stuck. Then when you're running back, you get within 60 meters of the end, and you phase walk the rest of the way. I wonder if you could go through the little thing that you have to click on that you spacebar through the story.
Doesn't it go away if you die, though? I think it might go away if you die. So there's that. And does it only last 60 seconds? I thought it lasted longer than 60 seconds as well.
No, that's wrong. It lasts like 10 minutes. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, so it lasts
I
quite
think
a
it
while.
lasts like 10 minutes.
But
Yeah.
you can put it up high. You can put it so in PvP you can put it up on the like the second tier in hut
Yeah.
ball. You can do a lot of interesting things with it. You can put it in the end zone of hut ball and then be walking, walk somewhere else and teleport around. You cannot stealth with the ball in hut ball. I don't know if you can. I don't know if it allows you to phase walk with the ball in hut ball now that I think about it. But you can do a lot of fun things
I don't
with it.
know. But you can, with the hut ball, you can like force sleep, right? So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Sure can. In fact, that makes Juggernauts quite powerful because you can force leap to someone, force push them, and then leap to them again.
Yeah. And then, if you have someone positioned even further on, they can grapple you, right?
Granite Paladin in the chat room mentioned something which was making me use my assassin and its phase walk when I was going after Datacrons, like the +10
Oh, good
Datacron
point,
on
yeah.
Makeb. When you have those really terrible jumping puzzle Datacrons, you can have a save yourself button when you jump off and you miss your
Yeah.
jump. You spam that
You
button
just have to
quick.
know that you missed your jump before you die.
Yep, you got to do it quick. What about some of the passives? I didn't see anything too interesting in the passives. In Assassin Shadows, so Assassin Shadows can be a tank, right? So they're either DPS or tank.
Right.
I've tanked quite a
Right.
bit with an Assassin. I like tanking with an Assassin, but it does take some extra management of active buffs that you need to maintain. One of the new passive skills that Darkness Kinetic, which the tank Assassin Shadows is getting, really I think strengthens the management of that passive buff. So Kinetic Ward, Dark Ward, it increases the duration to 5 seconds, increases the number of charges by 5, it increases the shield chance that it provides by an additional 3%, and it reduces its cooldown. That's the new passive skill. So it really boosts the usefulness and power of Dark Kinetic Ward, I think, for Assassins, which I think is a nice addition. And I think Assassin
And
tanks
it
are going to
sounds
really
like it's a
appreciate
little
it.
bit of a playstyle improvement too, which is probably needed.
So I am superior because I'm a terrible tank. I'm superior in playing with my power attack because I don't have to worry about all of that passives. I can just worry about active use of cooldowns when appropriate, but I don't
Right.
have to worry about all the passive stuff as well. And then the other two passives are just focused on making your DPS better. If for the dot spec for Hatred, your dots get crit chance, and then I think for Surging Charge, Force Breach, for Deception Infiltration, you get an additional 5% damage on your direct damage.
Right. It seems like in general, it's if it's increasing your damage by a percentage, it's around 5% for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If it's increasing something for like the damage that a limited proc does, like for 10 seconds, then it can be higher. But it seems like pretty much what they're saying for everybody is healing by 5%, damage by 5%. So I think all these things are sort of geared towards what we'll need at level 65.
Yep.
One can only hope.
What about Sork Sage? They're getting the
They get a new passive that increases the healing done by wandering men or roaming men, which is the heal that jumps from person to person to person. And really, I'm a little bit nervous that it says it reduces the force it consumes by 10. It's sort of like, is force management going to be such an issue that they need to reduce the force of something at this point? I don't know. But yeah, so like I said, increase healing in one spell by 5% is kind of yawn worthy. I mean, we don't know. Maybe it'll be critical. But till we know what the PvP environments and encounters are like, we can't really measure whether 5% is awesome or not enough.
So do you use that Wandering Mend thing quite a bit? Is that a key part of the rotation?
Yeah.
Okay. So at least it's not on something that you wouldn't typically use.
That's true.
So you got that going for you.
It's a smart heal, so yeah, I do like to use it because then I don't have to decide who to heal. I just, you know.
Right. Anything else that looked interesting to you there? Let's see, in lightning telekinetics.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want a spell that's called Fulgurous anything.
Vulnerous.
But in lightning telekinetics, there's a new passive skill called Fulgurous Fortification or Telekinetic Refuge. But yeah, again, it's
This one I don't like. I just think it's not as useful. So it's a damage reduction for a DPS spec. That's the new passive. And if I'm in PvE, that's pretty much
you're
useless.
never going to take that, yeah.
Well, it's a passive skill you're just going to get along the way, and I'm going to go, so what?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I was thinking of
It's not even a utility that you could switch off. This is like a thing you get. Well, why do I care about stacks of damage reduction? In PvP, that will be interesting.
But it's called Fulgurous.
Telekinetic Refuge. Yes. So for lightning telekinetics, you must be powerful enough. They didn't need to give you anything to boost your damage. There you go, balancing. So maybe that's a tiny, tiny bit of class balance. Maybe they thought lightning telekinetics was too powerful. Whereas madness and balance get increased crit chance of all your periodic effects by 2% per stack, up to 4 stacks of fulminating current or psychokinetic torrent.
See, fulminating.
Fulminating.
Who wouldn't want something that was fulgurous and something that was fulminating?
True. So
it sounds like things are growing. I don't know.
I've been playing a lot of telekinetics on my Consular that I just got to 60 this week. And I don't know why when I leveled up my Sork, I did not like lightning, but I didn't. And now that I'm playing telekinetics on my Consular, I really like it. It's doing a lot of damage. I'm pretty happy with it. So I don't know what I would switch to.
I think sometimes too I kind of underestimate the impact of the animations of things. So it's like, yes, it's maybe not your favorite spec when you were playing on the Imperial side, but on the pub side maybe it's more fun because of how you move and things.
No, it's not that.
It's just the
because because you're doing. I mean, because you're just doing the little, the little force blast move. There's barely an animation. It's like you're pushing the air a little bit. Whereas
I don't know, but I still like the Sage better than the Sork because of the Sork has that sort of crouched, like sort of golem position that she takes whenever she's casting anything.
Bad posture is a valid criticism. But lightning.
Yes, it's not. Yeah.
More MOAR lightning. I may switch my Sork to lightning spec and play with it a little bit. Maybe even in PvP, see what it feels like. Now that I'm getting the hang of it on the Consular. Same thing with utilities. There was one utility update that I think is going to be quite interesting. So the other utilities I don't think are very interesting, but force mobility is a utility talent that has been updated. And why don't you tell us what that does, Seema?
So force mobility is a heroic utility that exists now, which allows you to cast some things while moving, perform some abilities while moving. And so what they've done is they've added Force Barrier to the list of things that you can do while moving. And Force Barrier is an ability that gives you sort of an immunity bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a sort of limited use. When you need it and you can get it off, it's sometimes critical, but it's very situational. But yeah, if you can do it while moving, that's just, one really good place to use it would be like during banana hammock and you're running away and you're the last one up. But anyway,
yeah.
Banana hammock being when you've called a wipe and you're going to try and run away.
It's our safe word.
The boss that's still up. Yeah,
It's
our safe word.
it's a, it's a classic AIE safe word. Just to be clear,
Right, it's an AIE thing.
it is.
Um,
It's very
but yeah,
serious. If we yell banana hammock, then everyone needs to run away, swim away.
swim away. I do look forward to that. I mean, I don't use force barrier enough, but part of the reason why is because you're rooted in place and you obviously can't cast anything while you're in this immunity bubble. But I mean, if you can, I don't know. I just foresee it. I can see using it to just run through a quest area.
Run through lava. Run 8 seconds of complete immunity running around. That's
Oh, running through lava. Good idea.
it's overpowered.
Like you could extricate someone into the lava and then then you put up your bubble and run away.
There's been quite a bit of discussion in the threads and on Reddit. There seems to be a relatively good amount of consensus that Sorks and Sages and Assassins and Shadows got pretty good deal out of these class updates. So
I like the force mobility change. I mean, that is pretty cool.
Instant teleport 60 meters away and 8 minutes, 8 seconds of complete immunity where I can run around versus I jump backwards 20 meters. Yeah.
Right.
Who
knows where.
two steps out of your range of all of your abilities. That's great.
I mean, the backwards thing, like I'm not a fan of the backwards thing either. But couldn't you also do like your knockback first and then jump back 20 meters and then be like 30 meters? I don't know how far the knockback works, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I can waste more global cooldowns while you're 60 meters away.
Yeah, right.
Or when I knock the assassin back and then I knock back 20 meters and he stealths and then shows up right in my face. Yeah.
Right. Which you bring up a good thing. I do picture most of these in a PvP setting, and I do think that the increased mobility is meant to not only like even the classes, because like some classes had more distance closers, and some classes had more slows and stuff like that. This kind of evens that playing field, hopefully. But it also just shakes it up so that PvP in general is going to have all these new features.
Yes. And that's
people doing new and different things.
That's one of the things they alluded to when they talked about the class changes and what was coming in KotFE. They said we're not giving new maps to PvP, but that does not mean PvP is not going to change. And what you guys should keep an eye out for is how is the meta going to change, and we think it will change significantly. And I think with seeing this, I think it will change significantly. People are afraid of some of the ways it might change, especially if you have any lag or there's some frame rate issues being dropped in a big war zone with lots of people, and you now have everyone like teleporting around and leaping around, and it may get crazy. So hopefully they can have more of those performance updates that it's going to keep everything sort of cohesive and not just rip a hole in space-time when I leap to you and you teleport away at the exact same time to someone else who is just leapt back 20 meters. How are you going to unwind that stack and figure out where anybody's at? I don't even know. So we'll see. I think it will change PvP though.
Especially that new ability in the heroic, that new utility in the heroic level for Shadows Assassins, where after you use Phase Walk, you're immune to interrupts and pushback for like 6 seconds.
Should be interesting. So I think that was a good wrap up. I think by next week we're going to find out more about some of the bigger changes that are going on in the game outside of the class changes. But I'm glad we got to go through each of these classes and remind ourselves, even myself, I was glad I got a chance to remind myself what each of these classes did and why I like playing them. So I'm looking forward to playing all of them in Knights of the Fallen Empire. And with that, I think our EPC 110 droid can shadow stride right into the escape pod. Thanks to all of you for joining us on newoverlords.com or on iTunes or subscribing on YouTube or joining us live on Twitch. We will stream again next Monday night on twitch.tv/newoverlords around 10:30 p.m. Central. Please follow us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESEMA, or find us on Jedi Covenant. Please find us on Jedi Covenant and join AIE. We would love to have you there and joining our mandatory fun nights and coming and having fun with us. We will talk to you soon.
Later, guys.